in the fullness of time. So that's the Ninja update. The other thing of interest that, well, really two things of interest. On Saturday, I'd like to thank Kingpin Motorsports of San Antonio, Texas, for sponsoring the Victory Motorcycles demo trailer, where I got to demo some Victory motorcycles. They took us on a pretty long ride on those things. Well, I want to first preface this to all my friends who ride cruisers, and you know who you are. I understand that just because I don't care for a particular sort of bike, that doesn't mean that the people who ride it are bad people. What's going on here? Please go look at those idiots. It doesn't mean that the people who ride cruisers are bad people or mentally retarded or anything, even though I have to be honest, for the life of me, I can't understand why anybody rides a cruiser. I've been to a Harley demo day and ridden several of the Harleys. I rode several of the Victories. And by golly, cruiser friends, it made no connection at all to me. None whatsoever. I really hate that feet forward, up in the air, gynecological table, sitting position. I don't think that is a natural way to sit on a two-wheeled vehicle with your butt down low and your feet up in the air and spread. Let me talk about the Victory motorcycles. Two of the ones I did ride, the more interesting of the two. I rode several of them. There wasn't a big line. I could have ridden them all day if I wanted to. Not that I wanted to. But anyway, the first one I rode, which was the one I liked the best, was called a Vegas Low, I believe. It had a very low seat height, which, you know, a short, sturdy little guy like me really likes. The handlebars were swept back, so they fell readily to hand. It did not have floorboards, and at first I picked that one because I didn't want to deal with floorboards because I really didn't quite understand the whole floorboard heel-toe shifter concept. And actually, that bike wasn't a bad bike. And oh, darn it! And I think I was a little premature taking a choke off there. And if I had like $1 million to spend on bikes, I'd probably buy a Vegas Low Cruiser just for social occasions where I know I'm in the Austin Motorcycle Meetup group. That's mostly cruiser people, and they're all the salt of the earth, and they're not stupid, mostly, but well, no more than the average motorcyclist. But anyway, the point being of this ramble that wasn't a bad bike to ride. It handled pretty well. It was very Spartan. It's just, there's nothing on it but, a starter button, a horn, clutch and a brake. That's pretty much it. It was hard for me to find the rear brake because of the weird, wacky, far forward foot position. That's not what I'm used to. So I kept driving along saying, there's the rear brake. There's the rear brake. Don't forget what the rear brake is, Jim. You might have to stop. When I found the rear brake the brakes compared to my Ninja in general were not as good, I have to say. I really felt nervous trying to stop the beast. I felt like the brake power to weight ratio favors my Ninja enormously over these Victories. In particular, I went around a corner and scraped the pegs. I've never scraped the pegs in this Ninja. I'm not an aggressive enough rider, but about the fourth turn on the Vegas, I scraped the pegs. One thing that applies to all the cruisers, the Harleys and these two Victories that we're discussing. What do you guys do when you go over railroad tracks? When you go over railroad tracks, and on my Ninja, I just stand up. I just stand up a little bit, and then my knees absorb the blows of the railroad track, the roughness of the railroad track, and then I just truck on down the road. Well, on a cruiser with your legs out in front of you and your butt down and grabbing on the ground and your feet up in the air, there seemed to be nothing but your spine there to take the slings and arrows of the of the railroad tracks. So I'm just curious what your cruiser guys do for that. But anyway, the Vegas Low is a small, compact bike. It has the same basic 106 cubic inch Victory V twin, and I liked it. I mean, I'd have to put the floorboards on so when my legs got too tired to work the brake pedal and the shifter. But other than that, for a cruiser, it wasn't too bad. So I rode another one very similar called a hard ball or hard something. It was the same bike but with a bigger motor. It was the same bike with a bigger motor. Not much to say about that. You could pull bigger stunts with it. The next bike I rode was a Kingpin Touring Edition. Kingpin's a little bit larger framed Victory. Now, I'm not an expert on Victories, and you Victory owners correct me if I got this wrong, but I believe this was called a Kingpin, and it had a hard dogs. It had a nice passenger seat and a tail dog, so it was a huge windshield. So it was really a nice, to look at it looked like it'd be a pretty good cruising bike, and I'm sure it is for the guys who like to cruise in cruisers. A good touring bike, I should say. It was pretty top heavy. I almost dropped it in the parking lot, but I didn't. I managed to save face there. It had floorboards and a heel toe shifter, and the brake position was even more wacky. The rear brake position was even more wacky than on the Vegas. And it was really hard for me to find it. The other thing was a heel toe shifter is, a lever where there's two pegs on it, one for your toe and one for your heel. The heel shifter on that Victory was right where my normal left peg is on this Ninja. So occasionally my foot would move to what it's used to being the normal, just driving around position when I would shift gears. But the Victories didn't seem to really care very much what gear they were in. It's mostly a question of, how big a stump do you want to pull? You choose the gear based on that.
I'm going to add some post-production narration here to improve the sound. I just wanted to mention briefly that the Touring Kingpin had a giant windshield and a lot of chrome. The chrome reflected into the backside of the windshield, and it was kind of a distracting psychedelic light show when the sun hit it just right. So the windshield was great, except for the reflections from the chrome. Now here's the second part coming up where I've added post-production narration for quality reasons. I've muted the original sound because it was pretty distorted in this section. And on a bumper sticker, I rode the Kingpin Touring Edition. The group got split up. It was a group of about 15 riders that got split halfway in between. The employee who was the trail rider, after we went off into the distance and got off of where he wanted us to be, pulled up in front of us on this little country road, stopped the group, and we're on this very small road, and he tells us to do a U-turn.
It seemed to be as responsive as mine, so I thought for sure that I was going to drop it on this U-turn. Now, I actually went off the paved surface onto the gravel shoulder, but incredibly, I didn't drop the Kingpin Touring Edition, which I'm grateful to the good Lord for answering my prayer there, because I thought sure I was going to. So cruisers are just not for me. And again, let me close by thanking Kent Motorsports of Yamaha of San Antonio for giving us the opportunity to ride the Victories. I really appreciate it. I'm sure it's a hassle for them to put those demos on, but it was very helpful to me in teaching me that I'm going to be a sport king in Universal Japanese, sit up in bed kind of guy until I die. This is Jim, and I live in Texas.